Darkness filled the cold chamber. Only the sound of machines breathing in the shadows gave life to the silence. The girl sat alone, her wrists tied with silver bands that glowed faintly whenever she moved. She had been told many times that her emotions were her weakness. The overseers said she must bury them, crush them, erase them. But even now, in chains, she could not silence the storm inside her. Her name was Kayla. She was human, but not fully. The scientists who created her whispered she was a weapon, a tool to fight wars that others could not win. They had given her strength beyond steel, eyes that could see through darkness, and a mind sharper than blades. But they hated one thing. About her emotions, rage, fear, hope, love. They said emotions would make her break. They said feelings would ruin the mission. That night, the overseer entered her cell. His face was hidden under a black mask, but his voice carried the same cold tone she had always known. "You will learn, Kayla," he said. "Control comes from silence. Weakness comes from emotion. You must not feel." Kayla did not answer. She stared at the floor, but her hands shook. The overseer saw it. Still trembling, still clinging to that human flaw? His words cut like knives. "Perhaps the next trial will burn it out of you." The walls of the chamber shifted, and the floor opened. Light burst upward, white and blinding. Silver bands snapped loose, and the ground shook beneath her. A new trial, another test. She was forced to her feet as the light swallowed her. Kayla blinked. She now stood inside a vast arena. The ceiling was lost in the shadows above. Around her, metal walls rose like cliffs. From high platforms, masked overseers watched her, silent as statues. The ground trembled again. Panels opened in the floor. Out crawled creatures of steel and bone, their eyes glowing red. Training machines built to kill her if she failed. Kayla clenched her fists. She felt the storm rise in her chest again. Fear, rage, fire. She remembered the words drilled into her head since childhood. Do not feel. Do not feel. The first machine lunged. Its claws slashed. Kayla moved faster than any normal human, her body a blur. She dodged, twisted, and struck its chest with a single blow. Metal cracked. Sparks exploded. The machine fell. But there were more. 4, 10, 20. They surrounded her, eyes burning like angry stars. She fought. She moved with perfect speed, breaking steel, dodging blades, shattering claws. But each strike was fueled by more than training. It was fueled by her fury. Every time the overseers had called her weak, every time they had stripped away her freedom, every time they had told her to kill her feelings, that fury burned hotter. And then it happened. A machine struck her side. Pain ripped through her. For 1 second, Kayla dropped to her knees. The overseers leaned forward from their platforms, whispering, "She will fail. Emotions will destroy her." But inside Kayla's chest, the storm broke. Her pain turned into fire. Her anger became strength. Her scream echoed through the arena, a cry of weakness, but of power. The machines froze, as if the sound itself shook their circuits. Kayla's eyes glowed like molten light. She charged forward. She tore through the machines with strength far beyond what she had ever shown. Steel shattered under her fists. Circuits burned at her touch. Her fury made her faster, stronger, unstoppable. The overseers stared in silence. This was not weakness. This was something new, something terrifying. Within minutes, the arena was silent again. Broken machines lay scattered like bones. Smoke rose from the wreckage, and Kayla stood in the center, her chest rising and falling, her eyes still burning with fire. Slowly, she lifted her head toward the overseers. For the first time, she spoke. "You were wrong," she said. Her voice shook the silence. "Emotions are not weakness. They are my weapon." The overseers exchanged glances. For the first time, they did not look certain. For the first time, they looked afraid. Kayla's wrists still burned where the silver bands had been. But she no longer cared. Something inside her had awakened. The storm was no longer hidden. It was hers to wield. and deep in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning. The silence after the battle was heavy. The broken machines still sparked on the floor there. Glowing red eyes dimming into nothing, Kella's chest rose and fell, her breath sharp, her hands trembled, but not from fear. They trembled from power. The storm inside her was awake now, and it was not leaving above. The overseers whispered to each other, their masked faces unreadable. They had seen every trial, every test, every moment of her training. Never before had Kayla gone this far. She had always fought with control, always followed their rules, always hid the fire inside her. But tonight, she had let it free. One overseer finally stepped forward. His voice echoed through the arena. "You disobeyed," he said. "You let your emotions take control. That is forbidden." Kayla raised her head, sweat running down her face, her eyes still glowing faintly. "Forbidden," she said. "It saved me. It gave me strength." The overseer's tone grew sharper. "Strength without control destroys. You're dangerous. Kayla, and dangerous tools are destroyed." The words hit her like a blade. Destroyed? She was not even seen as human, not a soldier, not a girl, only a tool. The other overseers nodded in silence, their masked faces turned toward her like judges. At an execution, Kella's stomach twisted, but the fire inside her pushed back. She would not beg. She would not bow. The overseer lifted a hand, and suddenly the floor trembled again. New panels slid open. Kayla braced herself, but this time it was not machines. Figures stepped out of the shadows, tall, armored, human, soldiers, real men and women. Their faces hidden under helmets, their weapons glowing with blue light. These were not training dummies. These were the elite guard warriors sworn to kill anything the overseers commanded. Kella's heart pounded. Machines had no fear. But these soldiers were alive. They breathed, they thought, they bled. "Show us," the overseer said coldly. "If your fury is truly strength, prove it. Fight them. Win or die." The soldiers spread out, their weapons aimed. Kella's breath caught. For years she had been told she was a weapon made to protect humanity. But now, the very people she was meant to protect stood against her. One soldier stepped forward. His voice came through his helmet, calm but firm. "Don't resist, girl. Surrender. Make this easy." Something inside her cracked. Easy. There was nothing easy about being chained, tested, treated like an animal. Her storm rose again. The soldiers tightened their stance, sensing it. The first shot burned past her shoulder. Blue light seared the wall behind her. Kayla moved faster than sight. She darted forward, disarming the nearest soldier with a strike so sharp his weapon flew across the arena. She shoved him down, but stopped short of killing him. The overseers leaned forward. "Why do you hesitate?" one demanded. Kayla gritted her teeth. She could kill. Her fury begged her to. Deep down, she knew the truth. Her rage gave her strength, but it did not own her. She would not become the monster they wanted her to be. The other soldiers attacked in formation, moving as one. Kayla fought them like a storm, her fists breaking weapons, her kicks throwing them across the floor. Every strike shook the arena, yet with each move, she aimed to disable, not to kill. The overseers saw it. They grew restless. "She refuses to finish them," one hissed. "She is flawed. She cannot obey." One soldier, larger than the rest, managed to catch her off guard. His blade sliced across her arm, and blood spilled hot against her skin. The overseers leaned forward, expecting her to fall, but Kayla did not fall. Her fury erupted again, brighter, fiercer. She roared, the sound echoing through the chamber like thunder. Her eyes burned gold. She charged the soldier, breaking his weapon in two with her bare hands. She lifted him and hurled him across the floor like he was weightless. The remaining soldiers froze, their courage fading. None of them had seen such power. Kayla stood in the center again, blood on her arm, smoke rising around her. Her voice cut the silence. "You wanted proof," she said. "Here it is. My emotions make me strong, and you will never control them." The overseers stared down. For the first time, their silence was not commit, was uncertain. They had created a weapon, but that weapon had chosen her own path. Kayla looked at the broken soldiers, then up at the masked faces. Thought burned in her mind, sharper than fire. If they fear my emotions, then I will use that fear against them. And for the first time, Kayla felt it not weakness, not shame, but power. The power of her fury. This was no longer their game. This was only the beginning of hers. The soldiers were dragged out of the arena, their armor cracked, their weapons shattered. None of them dared to meet Kayla's eyes as they were carried away. She had not killed them, but she had broken them all the same. High above the overseers, spoke in low voices. Their words did not reach her, but their movements did. They shifted uneasily, as if the control they once held was slipping through their fingers. Kayla stood in the center of the wreckage, blood still dripping from her arm. The wound burned, but the fire inside her was stronger. She refused to kneel. She refused to bow. Finally, the overseer who had led the trial leaned over the edge of the platform. His mask reflected the light, hiding his face completely. "You are dangerous," he said. "If you will not obey, then you must be contained." Panels in the arena floor opened again. Kayla braced herself, but no machines appeared. Instead, columns of silver light shot upward, surrounding her in a glowing cage. The silver burned against her skin, forcing her to stumble. Her fury struck against it, like fire against ice, but the light held her in place. The overseers watched silently as her strength weakened. Slowly, the fire in her eyes dimmed. The storm inside her roared, but she could no longer move. "Take her back," the overseer ordered. "She will learn, one way or another." Guards in black armor marched in. They chained her wrists again, heavier this time, glowing with the same silver light. Kayla clenched her fists, but her body refused to obey. The chains drained her power like poison. They dragged her through endless halls of steel and shadows. The walls pulsed with light, like veins of some great machine. Somewhere deep in the facility, other voices screamed, other test subjects, other tools. Kayla's jaw tightened. She had thought she was alone, but she wasn't. The guards shoved her into a new cell. This one was smaller, darker. The air was cold and heavy. The door sealed shut with a hiss. She was left in silence again, but the storm inside her would not die. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time meant nothing inside that place. Kayla sat on the floor, her wrists burning where the chains cut into her. Every breath was a fight against the weight pressing down on her chest. Then she heard it. A faint sound, a whisper. "Can you hear me?" Kayla froze. The voice was not in the cell. It was inside her head. She looked around, but the shadows were empty. Again, the whisper came. "Do not be afraid. You are not alone." Her breath caught. "Who are you?" She whispered back. The voice was soft, but carried strength. "I am like you. They call us failures, but we are not. We are stronger than they know, and you are the key." Kayla's heart pounded. She pressed her back against the wall, staring at the chains that glowed on her wrists. "I can't even move," she said bitterly. "They drained me." "You are stronger than chains," the voice replied. "They built walls around your fury, but walls can break. Trust the storm inside you will not fail." Kayla closed her eyes. The storm was still there, raging, burning. She could feel it pressing against the chains, clawing for freedom. For so long, she had been told to hide it, to bury it. Now she understood the storm was not her weakness. It was her strength. She drew in a deep breath. The chains burned hotter. The pain was sharp, but she welcomed it. She fed the pain into her fury. The glow around her wrists flickered. From the hall outside, the guards heard something, a low rumble, like distant thunder. They turned toward the cell, unease spreading between them. Inside, Kayla's eyes opened. They glowed brighter than before. Her voice was low, but steady. "They thought emotions made me weak," she whispered. They were wrong. The storm broke free. The chains cracked, sparks flying. The guards rushed in, weapons raised, but Kayla was already standing. The fire inside her had grown. The pain, the fear, the fury had all fused into one unstoppable force. The first guard lunged. She caught his weapon and crushed it in her hand. The second swung his blade, but Kayla moved faster, throwing him against the wall. The silver light tried to bind her again, but this time it shattered under her rage. The overseers would see her escape as rebellion. They would call it failure. But Kayla knew the truth. It was freedom. And as she stepped into the hall, her eyes burning like fire, she made a silent promise she would not run alone. She would find the others. She would break their chains too. The overseers had built her to be a weapon, but her fury would turn her to something more, something they could never control. The alarm screamed through the steel corridors as Kayla ran. Red lights flashed, painting the halls in blood-colored shadows. Behind her, broken guards lay silent, their weapons scattered. Every breath filled her chest with fire. Every step carried her closer to freedom, but freedom was not enough. For her, not for the others. She reached a heavy door and slammed her hand against the panel. Ow! The lock sparked under her fury and hissed open. Beyond the door, she found rows of cells' dark chambers lined with silver chains. Inside, she saw them. Children, men, women, all silent. Their eyes hollow, their wrists bound with the same glowing bands she had broken. Some looked half human, half changed, their bodies shaped by the overseer's cruel experiments. Others were frail, their strength drained by endless trials. Kayla froze. She had thought she was alone all her life. But here, dozens stared back at her. Their faces lit up when they saw the glow in her eyes, the fire in her stance. "Who are you?" one whispered. Kayla stepped into the room, her voice steady. "My name is Kayla. I am like you." They told us emotions made us weak. They lied. My fury broke my chains, and it can break yours too. The prisoners stirred hope, flickering in their tired faces. But some shook their heads. "It's useless," a man whispered. "The chains cannot be broken. We've tried." Kayla held up her wrists. The shattered bands still smoked from where she had torn them apart. Her eyes blazed, then watch. She grabbed the first set of chains. The silver burned her palms, slicing her skin, but she pushed her fury through the pain. The glow flickered, then shattered with a crack of lightning. The prisoner gasped as the weight fell from his arms. One by one, Kayla broke the chains. The storm inside her grew with every prisoner freed. Their eyes filled with something they had not felt in years, hope. But the alarms grew louder. Heavy footsteps thundered in the distance. The overseers had unleashed more guards. A young girl clutched Kayla's arm. "They will kill us," she whispered, tears running down her face. Kayla knelt, gripping the girl's hand. "No, not if we fight. They call us failures, but we are not. They fear us. That is why they chained us. Now we will show them why." The girl's trembling slowed. She nodded. The freed prisoners gathered around Kayla. Some were weak, barely able to stand. Others clenched their fists, fire sparking in their eyes. They had been broken but not destroyed. The door at the end of the hall burst open. Soldiers in black armor stormed in, their weapons glowing blue. The overseers had sent their best. For a moment, silence filled the air. The prisoners looked at Kayla, fear tightening their faces. She stepped forward, blood still dripping from her wounds, eyes glowing like fire. "Together," she said. The soldiers charged. Kayla roared and leaped into the fight. The storm inside her exploded, her fury striking like lightning. She shattered weapons with her bare hands, her strength throwing soldiers across the hall. But she was not alone this time. The prisoners fought beside her. Some had claws of steel. Others released bursts of energy, their abilities unleashed once the chains fell. Even the weakest raised their fists, striking at the guards who had once beaten them down. The hall became chaos. Metal clashed with fire. Screams echoed through the alarms. Kayla moved like the eye of the storm, unstoppable, untouchable. Every strike was fueled not just by her rage, but by the fury of those around her. The guards began to falter. For every one that fell, another prisoner stood taller. The overseers had never prepared for this. They'd created weapons, but now the weapons were free and united. When the last guard fell, silence filled the hall once more. Smoke rose from the broken walls. The prisoners stood in the wreckage, breathing hard, their eyes wide. Kayla turned to them. Her face was streaked with blood and sweat, but her voice was strong. "They wanted us to believe emotions make us weak," she said. "But look at us. Fear made us fight harder. Anger made us stronger. Hope brought us together. That is not weakness. That is our power." The prisoners looked at her with awe. For the first time, they saw not a weapon, not a test subject, but a leader, far above. Hidden behind steel walls and glowing screens, the overseers watched. Their silence was no longer commit, was fear. The storm they had tried to bury had broken loose, and Kayla was at its heart. She raised her bloodied hand and pointed toward the hall ahead. "This place is not a cage anymore," she said. "It is the start of a war." The storm moved forward. The storm of freed prisoners moved through the steel corridors, their footsteps echoing like thunder. Some limped, some staggered, but all followed Kayla. For the first time in their lives, they were not slaves. For the first time, they had hope. The alarm still screamed above them. Red lights flashed against steel walls, guiding them deeper into the heart of the facility. Kayla led the way, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She did not know where every hall would lead, but the storm inside her pulled her forward. Behind her, the prisoners whispered. She broke her chains. She faced the overseer's guards and lived. She is one of us, but stronger. The weight of their voices pressed against Kayla's chest. She had never wanted to be a leader. She had only wanted to be free. But now she understood. She did not lead, they would fall. And if they fell, the overseers would win again. A sudden hiss filled the corridor. The walls opened, and metal drones spilled out, crawling on sharp legs. Their red eyes glowed like fire in the dark. "Another trial," Kayla muttered. The drones rushed forward, blades flashing. Kayla leapt into the fight, her fists shattering steel, her fury burning brighter with every strike. Behind her, the prisoners fought too. Some screamed in terror as they struck. Others roared with new strength. Every fear, every scar, every memory of pain became a weapon. The drones fell one by one, their metal bodies sparking against the floor. The overseers had designed them to crush rebellion, but against fury and hope they were nothing. When the hall was clear, the prisoners caught their breath. Kayla stood tall, her bloodied hands clenched. She turned to them. "They will keep sending more," she said. "Machines, guards, whatever they have left. But we will not stop. Not until we break this place apart." The crowd murmured in agreement. Their fear was turning into fire. They pushed forward again, but the next chamber was different. The air was colder, the lights dimmer. The center of the room stood a massive cylinder of glass, glowing faintly. Inside floated a figure taller than Kayla, stronger, its body wrapped in black armor that seemed alive. Its eyes glowed blue, piercing even through the glass. The prisoners stopped, unease spreading among them. One whispered, "What is that?" Deep voice echoed from hidden speakers above. "Prototype 7, the true weapon. Unlike you, it feels nothing. Like you, it does not hesitate. Unlike you, it will not fail." Kella's chest tightened. The overseers had prepared this. She was not their only creation. The cylinder hissed. The glass cracked open. Slowly, the figure stepped out, its armored feet striking the floor with heavy echoes. It stood taller than any human, its shoulders broad, its movements unnaturally precise. This was no prisoner. This was no experiment. This was their perfect soldier. The overseer's voice returned. "Destroy her." Prototype 7's head turned toward Kayla. Its blue eyes glowed brighter, cold and empty.
At.
It raised its hand, and blades unfolded from its arms with a metallic hiss. The prisoners backed away. Some whispered in fear, "We cannot fight that. It will kill us all." Kayla did not move. She stepped forward, her fists clenched. Her eyes burned like fire against the cold blue light of the machine. "You were built to feel nothing," she said. "But that is why you will lose." The creature struck. The clash shook the chamber, sparks flying as Kayla blocked the first blow. The force drove her back, her boots scraping against the floor. She pushed forward, fury roaring inside her. The battle was brutal. Every strike of the machine was precise, perfect, mechanical. Every strike of Kayla was wild, fueled by rage and pain and fire. The prisoners watched in silence, their hearts racing. Kayla's arms burned. Her wounds screamed. But every time she stumbled, her fury lifted her again. Every memory of being chained, every scream she had heard in the cells, every face of the broken prisoners, it all fueled her storm. She struck again and again, until cracks spread across the machine's black armor. Sparks burst from its chest. But still, it fought on. The overseers watched closely, their voices sharp and cold. "Finish her. End this failure," Kayla roared, her voice echoing through the chamber. She drove her fist into the machine's chest with all the fury she had left. The armor shattered. The blue light flickered, then dimmed into nothing. The machine collapsed, its body crashing against the floor. Silence followed. The prisoners stared, eyes wide. Kayla stood above the broken machine, her body trembling, blood running down her side. But her eyes still burned. She turned to the others, her voice steady. This was their perfect soldier. "But it fell. Do you see now? They fear us because we are not empty. We feel, we rage, we hope. And that makes us stronger than anything they can build." The chamber shook with the sound of prisoners shouting. Their voices carried through the steel walls like thunder. The overseers had tried to break them. Instead, they had created an army. Kayla lifted her fist high, bloodied but unbroken. "This is not the end," she said. "This is only the beginning." Storm marched forward. The body of Prototype 7 still smoked on the floor. Sparks hissed from its broken chest as the prisoners stepped around it, their fear turning into awe. The overseers had called it their perfect weapon. But Kayla's fury had crushed it. They followed her deeper into the facility. The halls grew darker, colder. Strange machines lined the walls, pulsing with blue light. Kayla felt the overseers, eyes on her everywhere. They were watching, listening, waiting. "Why don't they strike again?" one prisoner whispered. "They're afraid," another said. "She defeated their strongest." Kayla kept her eyes forward. She could feel the truth in their words, but she also knew the overseers were not done. Fear made them dangerous. They reached a wide chamber filled with glowing cages. Inside were more prisoners, some half-conscious, others staring blankly at. The walls, Kayla's fury flared. She smashed the locks one by one, freeing them. Each freed soul joined the march. Some wept, others clenched their fists, their eyes burning with new fire. The storm grew larger, louder. But Kayla noticed something strange. Among the freed was a young man with sharp eyes. Unlike the others, he did not look broken. He stood tall, his movements steady, almost too steady. He approached her. "You fight well," he said calmly. "My name is Duran." Kayla nodded, her breath heavy. "Another prisoner?" as he said. But his eyes held something unreadable. "Like you, I survived the trials. I've been waiting for this moment." Kayla studied him, but there was no time for questions. Alarms blared louder. A voice echoed through the chamber. Cold, sharp, familiar. "Kayla, you think you lead an army, but you lead only failures. Cannot escape." The overseer's voice shook the walls. The prisoners grew uneasy. Kayla raised her fist.
"Ain't they
"Call us failures because they fear us," she said. "But we are more than their machines. Together, we will tear this place apart." Her words lit the fire again, and the march continued. The storm crashed into another wave of guards. The battle raged through the corridors, metal against flesh, fury against control. Kayla tore through soldiers like a storm, her eyes blazing, her fury unstoppable. Round her, prisoners fought with every drop of strength left in them, but then it happened in the chaos. Kayla turned to strike another guard, and froze. It wasn't a guard, it was one of the prisoners. The young man Daron. His blade was raised, not at the overseers, not at the soldiers, but at her. Her heart skipped. For an instant the storm inside her faltered. He smiled coldly.
Hey.
They were right, Kayla. Emotions make you weak. While you rage like fire, I will rise like steel. Before she could react, Darren shouted. His voice was not for her, it was for the overseers. She is here. I've led her to you. The prisoners gasped. Guards pressed forward harder. The overseer's voice returned, filled with satisfaction. Excellent. The trap is set. Kella's fury roared back to life. Betrayal cut deeper than any blade. She lunged at Duran, but he moved with speed beyond normal. He was not a simple prisoner. He was one of them, a spy, creation made to walk among the broken. He blocked her strike with his blade, sparks flying. His eyes glowed faintly blue, the same cold fire as Prototype 7. Kayla staggered back, her chest burning with fury and grief. You were never chained. No, Darren said calmly. I chose my place. I serve the overseers, because they are strong. And you, his eyes narrowed, you will burn with your weakness. The prisoners shouted in anger. Some rushed to defend Kayla, others backed away in fear. The unity she had built cracked under the weight of betrayal. The guards pressed, harder, pushing them back. For the first time, Kayla felt the storm falter. Not because of chains, not because of wounds, but because of trust. She forced herself to stand tall, her fists clenched. Her voice thundered through the chamber. Listen to me. He's not one of us. He was made to break us, but he will not. We are not weak because we feel. We are strong because we feel. And together, we are stronger than him. The prisoners roared, their fury returning. They surged forward again, pushing the guards back. The storm held, but Darren stood untouched, his cold smile unbroken. This is not over, he said. His eyes glowed brighter. I will face you, Kayla, and when I win, they will see emotion as death. He vanished into the shadows, leaving. Only silence behind. Kella's chest burned. Betrayal had cut deep. But her fury did not fade, it sharpened. She turned to the prisoners, her voice steady, despite the storm raging inside her. They will send him against us. They will send everything they have. But remember, this machines fight with orders. We fight with fire. That is why we will win. The storm moved again, fiercer than before. But in the shadows, Kayla knew her. Greatest battle was yet to come, and it would not be against machines. It would be against one of their own. The storm of rebels pushed deeper into the facility, but Kella's mind burned with only one name. Darren, his betrayal cut sharper than any. Blade. He had spoken like them, fought beside them, and then revealed his true face-on overseer's creation, a spy made to shatter their unity. Kella's fury flared hotter each time she remembered his cold smile. The prisoners followed her, but there. Voices carried unease. Can we trust anyone now? What if more spies are hidden among us? What if he was right? What if our feelings make us weak? Kayla stopped. She turned, her eyes blazing like fire. Listen to me, she said. They want you to doubt. They want you to fear. But fear and doubt are not weakness. They are fuel. Use them. Let them make you fight harder. Her words lit the storm again. The prisoners raised their fists and roared. But Kayla knew their fire would not last unless she faced. Darren herself, it didn't take long. The rebels reached the heart of the facility, a vast chamber of steel and light. The ceiling stretched high above like a black sky. At the center stood a platform glowing with blue energy. And on that platform waited Duran. He no longer hid his true form. The glow in his eyes burned brighter, his body stronger, faster. His voice echoed with cold power. I told you, Kayla, you cannot win. Fury blinds you. Emotion makes you reckless. That is why I will always be stronger. Kayla stepped forward, her fists clenched. You speak of strength, but you have none. You feel nothing. You fight because they order you. I fight because I must. And that is why I will never fall to you. The overseer's voices echoed from hidden speakers. Destroy her, Duran. proved to them all that emotion is failure. The chamber shook as Duran leaped from the platform. His blade flashed, striking with speed too fast for the eye. Kayla blocked, but the force sent her sliding back across the floor. Sparks burst where steel met fury. The battle began. Darren's strikes were perfect, sharp, cold, unrelenting. Every move calculated, every motion precise. Kella's fists struck like thunder, wild and furious, powered by rage and fire. The clash filled the chamber with echoes of steel and storm. The prisoners watched, their hearts pounding. Some whispered in fear, others shouted in defiance. The overseers remained silent, waiting for Kayla to fall. Duran pressed harder. His blade slashed across her side, drawing blood. Kayla gasped, her knees buckling. He stood over her, his voice calm. "See, your emotions betray you. They slow you. They weaken you." Kayla clenched her teeth, her hands shaking. She thought of every chain, every scream, every broken prisoner. She thought of the little girl who had asked her not to leave. She thought of the faces around her now, watching, hoping. Her fury roared back to life. She rose, her eyes burning brighter than before. "You don't understand," she said. "My emotions don't slow me. They carry me. They make me more than you could ever be." She struck. Her fists moved faster, harder, each blow fueled by more than rage, by pain, by hope, by love for those behind her. Darren staggered. The first time crack spread across his perfect stance, but he was not finished. He roared, his voice cold and sharp. His blade cut the air, striking with deadly precision. Gala barely dodged. The ground split under the force. The overseer's voice filled the chamber. "End her, end them all." Kella's fury burned hotter. She let the storm fill her completely, every emotion flowing into her veins. The fear, the anger, the hope, the grief, all of it, she charged. The final clash shook the chamber like thunder. Kella's fist collided with Darren's chest as his blade struck her shoulder. Pain exploded, but she pushed through. Her fury shattered his cold strength. His body flew backward, crashing against the glowing platform. Blue sparks burst. Darren's blade fell from his hand. His glowing eyes flickered. He staggered, falling to his knees. For the first time, his calm mask cracked. You shouldn't," he gasped, his voice broken. "You shouldn't be stronger." Kayla stood above him, blood pouring from her wounds, her chest heaving, her eyes blazed like fire. "I'm stronger because I feel. It's something you will never understand." The prisoners roared, their voices echoing like thunder through the chamber. The overseer's silence above was heavy, sharp. For the first time, Kayla knew they were afraid. But she also knew this was not the end. She looked up at the walls, at the shadows where the overseers watched. Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. "You call me weak because I feel, but my fury has broken every chain, every soldier, every machine you've thrown at me. And now I will break you too." The storm had one battle left, and it would be the final one. The chamber shook with the cries of the freed prisoners. Darren lay broken at Kella's feet, his cold eyes flickering until they went dark. The overseer's perfect soldier had fallen, but Kayla did not celebrate. She lifted her gaze to the high walls above. Behind the glass and steel, the overseers still watched. Their silence pressed down like a shadow. The prisoners gathered around her. Her faces carried blood, scars, and hope. They had followed her this far, but now they looked to her for the last step. "What do we do now?" one whispered. Kella clenched her fists. Her wounds ached, her body trembled, but the storm inside her burned brighter than ever. "We finish this," she said. "We take the fight to them." The roar of the prisoners filled the chamber. The storm surged forward once more. Heavy doors opened, leading them into the heart of the facility. The air grew colder, the lights sharper. At the center lay the overseer's core chamber, a vast dome filled with glowing pillars, each one pulsing with silver light. Above, shadows moved behind thick glass. Masked faces watching from their control seats. The overseer's voice finally returned, calm but sharp. You have gone far, Kayla, but it ends here. We created you. We can unmake you. Kayla stepped into the center of the dome. Her eyes burned, her voice thundered. You created a weapon. But I became more. You chained us, tortured us, broke us. And still we stand. That is something you will never understand. The overseers did not answer with words. The pillars flared to life, pouring beams of silver energy into the chamber. The light cut across the floor, burning like fire. Prisoners screamed as the beams lashed around them. Kayla's fury roared. She leapt into the storm of light, her body glowing with fire against the cold silver. The beams struck her, burning, tearing, but she pushed through. Every ounce of pain fed her storm. She smashed the first pillar. The glass cracked, sparks bursting like lightning. The overseers shouted in alarm. Stop her! Machines poured into. The dome drones, soldiers, armored giants. The storm of prisoners met them head-on. Claws tore into steel. Fire burst against armor. For every rebel that fell, another rose with fury in their eyes. Kayla tore through the battlefield, her fists shattering machines, her fury breaking every chain that bound the others. She reached the second pillar and ripped it apart with her bare hands. The dome shook. The overseer's calm began to crack. Their voices grew louder, desperate. She cannot, she must not. Kayla turned, her eyes blazing. Emotions made me weak. But it is your emptiness that makes you fragile. You will fall, and we will rise. She charged the third pillar. The overseers poured every weapon into stopping her, but her fury carried her forward. With a scream that shook the chamber, she drove her fists into the glowing core. The pillar shattered, light exploding outward. The entire dome trembled. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Shadows of the overseers scrambled behind the glass. For the first time, Kayla heard fear in their voices. Pull the failsafe. Destroy everything. The floor beneath her rumbled. Explosives hidden in the walls armed themselves, a last attempt to erase everything. Prisoners screamed as the walls glowed with deadly light. Kayla stood at the center, her body trembling, her wounds bleeding, her fury burning brighter than the collapsing chamber. She knew the truth. If the overseers could not win, they would. Kill everyone, she closed her eyes. The storm inside her rose higher than ever before. Rage, pain, hope, love it, all fused into one final fire. She opened her eyes, glowing like suns. No, this ends with me. Kayla leapt into the center of the dome, her fury striking like lightning. She poured everything into one final strike. Her fist slamming into the last pillar, the explosion ripped through the facility. Light swallowed the chamber, tearing apart walls, machines, glass. The overseer's screams echoed, then vanished. In the storm, when the light faded, silence fell. The steel walls were broken. The chains were gone. The overseers were no more. The prisoners stood among the ruins, blinking at the sky above real sky, not the cold ceilings they had always known. The dome was shattered, and for the first time, stars shone above them. Kayla stood in the center, her body scarred, her breath heavy. She looked at the freed, her voice soft but strong. They told us emotions made us weak, but our fury broke them. Our hope carried us. Our love for each other kept us alive. That is not weakness. That is what makes us human. The storm was silent for a moment. It roared louder than any battle, louder than any machine. The voices of the freed rose into the night sky, a promise that the overseer's reign was over.